Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another DraftKings DFS Slate breakdown. From Saturday here, and it is a good old-fashioned Man City slate. Minus 550 favorites against Burnley. Of course, we got Liverpool and Chelsea on the slate, both minus 100-ish in their matchups. Liverpool away to Palace, Chelsea home to Brighton, and then the slate finishes off with Leeds, Bournemouth home or away favorites there against Leeds. Now let's go into our goal contribution odds. And as you'd expect, these city guys, Holland minus 240, no shock there. Bowden, Rangers, Bob, Savino, all minus odds as well. Then we get to Liverpool, Salah, and Isak with minus odds. Of course, no Ekatike here with him getting that really stupid red card in the cup against Southampton for getting a second yellow for taking off his shirt. Ugh, I really feel for him. I just don't think he was thinking at all. And Slot kind of tore into him in his post match interview. But yeah, it is now Isak time upon us here because of no Ekatike. Chelsea and Brighton. Joe Pedro, the only one on minus odds there. And then Bournemouth and Leeds, a whole bunch of guys on plus 150-ish. Now let's go into our projected lineups and potential set pieces for Chelsea. It should be Pedro Neto and Enzo Fernandez. Oh no, Reece James, I'm sorry. Reece James and Pedro Neto. If Reece James doesn't start to go like Gusto or something at right back, which can happen, this is a Champions League week, so we are going to see early subs, rotation. It just is par for the course just because there's a ton of games in a row here, and you're going to see just kind of inconsistencies, 4 minutes especially, and like starting lineup choices. But we're just going off of projecting what they have for now. And in this team, it would be Reece James and Neto, Enzo Fernandez, Escobar. I wouldn't be surprised if they have one or two set pieces as well. For Brighton, it should be Ayari and Minte splitting, I guess, in this team. Maybe Diego Gomez takes something here and there. I think those two are the most likely in a split. Palace and Liverpool, Crystal Palace should be I want to say Jeremy Pino, and I one of Will Hughes or Adam Morton in this team splitting. However, Daichi Kamada started to end up having some pieces over Pino, which is wild to see, considering it was the other way around game before. So if they both start, I think it's a who knows what they do kind of lineup. Otherwise, I think Pino will take in this team. I don't think there's really another right-footed guy who really is an option. Then Hughes, Morton, it could really be either one splitting. I wouldn't take anything concrete with either of them. And then for Liverpool, in this team, it should be mostly Szoboszlai. There's just a Gakpo splits here and there. I watch out for Florian Wirtz. If he starts too, he's been also taken here and there. Like it's just not a set routine really. And you'll see all these guys end up taking one or two typically if they all start together. Hopefully just one or the other of Szoboszlai or Wirtz. They'd have the lion's share of set pieces, whoever starts you to match in. And then Leeds and Bournemouth. Leeds should be potentially a Scotch and good months in the split, potentially a Scotch monopoly. Could be some different way on the spectrum between those two. Like Scotch should have at least half of the sets, and just whether he goes more than that. Like he'll take his one side, and sometimes good months will do a straight split. Sometimes Scotch will take a larger share, to like potentially everything even. There'll be some combo of good months and Scotch. Then Bournemouth should be David Brooks and Adam Scott in this team. And then Tavernier will take something usually when Brooks gets subbed because Brooks is just typically a 60-minute player. So usually we'll end up with some Tavernier set pieces just because he ends up being on the field longer and they need a left-footed set piece option. That's them. Man City now should be mostly Phil Foden. There's a chance that they do a bit of a split with Rangers, but Phil Foden's kind of been that guy. He's kind of coming back from injury. So he's kind of the main dude. And then for Burnley, it should be Jade Anthony and Hartman splitting. Anthony ended up taking over the Cullen share of sets last game, which is super fun for DFS. And Anthony's just a really good DFS player. I look forward to kind of picking him in better matchups than this, since I don't know how much I really want of him away to Man City. Now let's go to our pricing here. And the top is not quite as high as they typically have been. Like Hall's only 10,600 against Burnley. He's been, look at this. I guess he's been cheaper in last couple of games he's been on a classic slate. But for these showdown slates, he's been a lot more expensive than this. At 10,600, like I don't think that's a bad price at all for him. I think he's going to be a super tempting option. The issues with Holland are always that he just doesn't have the floor. Like if he doesn't get you a goal contribution, he's going to drop like a 2 to 5 points probably. Semenyo, maybe not quite the goal contribution equity, but he's got a little bit more of a floor to him. Didn't have the best of floors against Newcastle at home, but that game was just kind of cagey. It was just not a ton of points there in general. I think they're both solid options. I think Holland's going to be the much more popular in cash formats, I will say, though, as well as GPP. Gakpo, 9,400. I really liked him last week. He had 6 points in 60 minutes. Didn't end up having that share set pieces that he had the game before. Just shows you can't really trust Liverpool to do anything consistently. They'll kind of switch it up all the time here, keeping opposing teams on their toes, which just makes them not a ton to predict for DFS as a result of that, however. But he's not a bad option. Like, you can gamble on him potentially having a share here and there. He's got a bit of a floor to him, even taking nothing. Like he had 6 points in 60 minutes, taking 0 set pieces against Everton. Like that's not bad production whatsoever in terms of your floor. So yeah, goal contribution there, you would have been like 15 points, 15 to 20 points. After him, I think João Pedro could potentially get some ownership. The issue with these like Champions League team slates are you're going to be scared of the subs for even your Hollands, your Salahs won't get to it, your Pedros. That is the one drawback of these Champions League teams. It's just you can never be too sure on the minutes. So it's just something to think about. After Pedro, there's a Katike out. Where's Isak? There's Isak's coming 200. I can see this being a popular play considering it's his first league start. This is going to be a lot of people's first opportunity to pick him in the Premier League, considering his first start was in the EFL Cup. He got that goal as well, so I can see him getting some momentum from that standpoint as well. And 7,200 is just a cheap price for him. So I could see that being a popular forward play. Neto is never a bad option. Really unfortunate to be subject to that early sub against me because of the red card. I think Maresca kind of be overthought things a little bit. He made a double sub after that Sanchez red. Didn't just bring off Estevan, who came off for the goalkeeper, then brought off Neto for another center back too, which was kind of wild. United got a red card too in that game, so Chelsea just ended up being short-handed up front because they were so conservative because of that red card. I think that's an error by Maresca, and also it kind of sucked as a Neto player in that game as well. But moving on. Minta 600, I think that can be a bit of a tempting option as well. It's going to be super low owned because they are on the road to Chelsea and just Liverpool and Man City are going to soak up a lot of that ownership at forward. You have to imagine. Like I didn't even mention Salah, who I think will be extra popular as well. This is a super cheap price point for him as well. Like he's super solid. Holland's super solid. Gakpo is going to be fine. I think he could get overlooked a bit as well compared to your Hollands, your Salahs. But yeah, Minte will be even more overlooked because he's on a dog matchup. But he's just been super consistent, super solid. And with the Kuiper out likely, and if Gruda doesn't start, he just should have set pieces, and that's a super contrarian way to go. I would like Minte here in GBP formats. There's Jaden Anthony. I had him this last game. Super lucky to pick up the set pieces against Forest. But it's just a tough match against Man City. If you want to go for like a GPP flyer, sure. I'd say away in cashy formats just because they're just not going to turn on the ball burner. You're going to need a goal contribution from him to get there. Other guys I consider, Evan Nielsen's not a bad little option at 6K. Mateta, 5,600. Liverpool have looked vulnerable. I think that could make some sense. Scored against them as well in the Cup, I believe, at the very beginning of the season in the Community Shield. So that's not a bad little GPP option. After that, you're kind of looking at your forward punts here. No one super pops out to me, but we've gone through a lot of forwards. There's plenty of really nice options here in this position this week. Midfielders, Cole Palmer, 9K, of course, is out. Enzo Fernandez at 8K. I think he's not a bad option if there's no Reece James. Should have set pieces. Szoboszlai in that projected lineup that we saw. I think that's a really great spot for him. Now, Phil Foden, this is my favorite play on the slate. He just continues to be underpriced. They've been slowly pricing him up, but he's still not what he should be. Like the algorithm is kind of just gradually pricing him up when he should really be like an 8, 9K player with this matchup, considering the form he's in. I know he didn't have his best stuff against Arsenal, but they only had one corner. They were up the whole game practically. Then you saw him in the cup against Huddersfield. He was right back to his best. He had like 25, 30 points, something. Got a couple goal contributions, took a ton of corners. So I'm happy to go back to the well too of Phil Foden here. I hope people kind of hold a little bit of a grudge against him for that Arsenal performance. And that just means he'll be even lower owned in this smash spot. Like, give me all that. I'll take any leverage I can get with the Phil Foden here. After that, Rangers, he has the potential of splitting. He's been just super solid too. Look at those minutes, so consistent. Like, you just can't really say that for a Pep Guardiola team. Everyone talks about Pep Roulette. He's just been completely immune to that. When he starts, he just plays. Of course, it is a Champions League week, so take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. If there's trying to sub him, it'd be now, especially if City are up 3 or 4 goals. I would not be surprised if they give him rest just because he has been going so many 90-minute games in a row. But like, I'd still say he's probably the safest City guy for minutes right now, which is saying something. Scotch at 6,200. I love him as a player. Ended up having to pivot him as a core play last week, which is another reason why to check out the FSI Discord, which can be accessed through a subscription from the website linked below. But yeah, he was awesome this game. They only had one corner too that he took, but he still had 25 points. Just gets there. 2 goal contributions. Awesome game. I'm not super afraid of Bournemouth either. I think it's a super great option here. Stash. Now here's Verse. Just kind of perennially on the outside in terms of really good performances. Just not kind of hitting those numbers that you'd expect for a 120 million player or whatever he was. But he's just a guy I would happily go back to the well. I know we haven't seen his best stuff, but I continue to pick him just because I believe in the talent. I believe in the spot, set piece taker for Liverpool, playing the number 10 position. Like, if you're forgetting about his name, like the stuff I just named off there, I'd pick him no matter who it was, whether it was Verts, whether it was Szoboszlai. So being that he's still so cheap, I think he's super popular, and he's a guy that I'm going to continually go back to until he gets either priced up or taken off of set pieces. Just because I believe in him just wanting to have the Liverpool set piece taker, especially as an attacker as well. After that, this like lower range isn't quite as appealing for midfielders. I'm looking at not a ton. Frankly, I'm trying to find a name to pick out to talk about. I'm just not seeing a ton. There is Alex Scott, just was not very great last game. As we talked about in that Newcastle game, just not a ton happening. He's super inconsistent for minutes. The other issue there, but 4K is not terrible. There is Daichi Kamada, who, like I said, had set pieces last game, was awesome. I had Pino in this game too, which sucked because he could have had all of those Kamada points, and there he is, at 4,500. I could see this being a pretty decent little punt option just because he's an attacker for Palace, and especially if you see this lineup with no Kamada. Like I said, he should have set pieces, and we talked about how vulnerable Liverpool have been. It makes a ton of sense here. After that, Milner, if he starts 4K, potential set pieces. Diego Gomez, if we see in this lineup, say we see I don't know, maybe Welbeck starts instead of IR, you move Gomez back. Gomez should be the guy with set pieces in that scenario. I think he could make sense in that kind of lineup, but it's a little bit far fetched. You need like a very specific kind of lineup for Diego Gomez to have set pieces. They have a ton of other guys who take over him. Down here, not a ton. Will Hughes, 3K, sure. Hope he has set pieces. Like, he was just not great is the only thing against West Ham. I don't think he had set pieces either, or they just didn't have any on his side. But like 3K, you're just a bit of a anyway. Don't love it. But yeah, that's midfielder. Defender, Reece James is the best option at 6K. Set pieces. He's a guy who I worry for minutes wise just because he went 90 against Man United, which is a little bit uncharacteristic. They have Champions League midweek. He's not a guy who's his most consistent 90-minute player anyway, especially with his injury history. I think he makes some sense, and I'd play him by the salary, but I wouldn't stress too much if you're not able to fit him, despite how good he was against Man United. He's a solid option. Just he does have some risks to him. Andrew Robertson, if he starts, maybe he ends up with a share of set pieces. A little bit unlikely, but 5,200 is not a terrible price. I just don't really see him starting just because he played in that cup game. I imagine they will just rotate Kirkes in here. There is Kirkes 4,500, not terrible. Frimpong 4,100 if he starts. That's not a bad option. Rico Lewis 3,900. Man City exposure, I think that's a pretty solid play. Goodmunson, solid play. OP has set pieces. Was not great against Wolves, but he just had the worst game flow imaginable. These were winning by multiple goals the whole game. So I'm not too worried about that. If he has set pieces, I think he's a great option home to Bournemouth. Virgil van Dijk, I don't think is a bad little PPP punt. Hope for a goal off of a set piece. He's a towering figure. Like it's definitely doable. He had that goal against Atletico Madrid last week too, midweek. If he's solid as a little GPP punt. Those up he starts, I love. He'd be my favorite defender on the slate. I imagine he just won't play though. He is kind of just like their cup conference league fullback. Otherwise, they just run Mitchell. The Kuiper, if he starts, sure. Chance of set pieces there. Hartman at 3K. I do like Hartman. This is just a tough matchup. He's been solid though. Like I don't mind going down to a 3K Hartman, despite it being a Man City slate. 3K is just such a solid little price range there. And I think he makes some sense. These Man City fullbacks, if they start Ake and Stones, are great options as well. I don't think they'll play either because I think that was the pairing they went with in the cup. So it's just hard to imagine them going 90 or at least starting back to back. Day 2,800 Liverpool punch, sure. And then there's not a ton else here that I'm really super interested in. Fender, I don't think anything that really sticks out for me too much on this slate in general. Goalkeepers, as always, play however fits the rest of your build. Any of these guys can get there in different ways. Donnarumma if he keeps a clean sheet. Dubravka makes like 5 or 6 saves to get there. Who knows? Super variance, as we always say. And as a core, first name in for me is going to be Phil Foden. Now, after that, I think it's a little bit tough. I don't really want to commit to a defender in core just because I think it's just a tough slate for a defender. I don't think that super pops out there. I have part of me does just want to go Holland and Salah. I think in cash, it's going to be the most popular route with your 2 forward slots. There's a high chance that I end up going that myself in my core. I also could end up putting Beer to P starts, Szoboszlai P starts, but I will have some combo of those 3 names here in the core with Phil Foden. But right now, I just don't have a concrete answer for you. I kind of want to see lineups when we get closer to lock, and then I'll make a more concrete decision. But yeah, I guess it'll be some combo of those 3 with Foden. But yeah, that'll be it. I'll see you for the next one. Peace.